to this episode of the Adversity Psychologist podcast. I'm Dr. Tara, and today I have a guest from the USA. Always love on a Friday when I have people all over the world chatting to me. I have Tiffany with me. Let me introduce her, and she can let us know a little bit about who she is and what's brought her on today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tara, for having me. It is my honor. What an ask to be on your podcast. In a nutshell, I am a tri-lingual actress. I am an author, a hearing health advocate. So I like to say all these A's, and then also a badass warrior that I have self-titled myself. People always raise an eyebrow when they learn that I'm deaf and yet I speak 3 languages. And that is all correct. All those statements are true. I lost my hearing suddenly in my 30s. So I had already mastered, obviously, my native language and also Spanish. And I picked up ASL, American Sign Language, very rapidly when I lost my hearing. So as a result of that, in being an actress, my castability has broadened 3 times, which has been a hidden blessing.
Wow.
It has increased the range of roles and opportunities that I can come, right? And 2 talent agents actually offered to sign me because of my hard of hearing and because of my language abilities. And it's so ironic that growing up, we would tell our friends, oh yeah, I'm going to be an actress. I want to do this. And if someone would have told me that would actually happen, and not only in this capacity, like speaking in your native tongue, but in 3 different languages, I would have fell off my chair right there because I wouldn't have believed a word you said. It has been, my hearing loss has actually been my hearing win. And that's why I think your podcast is such a great fit for my message and how I got through that mess.
Well, I'm really honoured to have you. So this is the first time. We've had all sorts of topics so far, but I haven't covered hearing loss. And even just the fact now that you're able to navigate and do this podcast in the way that you are is also remarkable. Are you comfortable letting us know a little bit about the circumstances around your hearing loss and those early days when you were trying to navigate that?
No, it was definitely a slow dance and a warm up to befriending my hearing loss. At first, I think it's very human nature for us to question, why me?
Yeah.
How did this happen? Why out of everyone, me? And some of those causes we'll never really ever know, like why me in this particular instance. So I had to really reframe my perspective and ask, well, why not me? Like, I feel that my whole life I've been underestimated, or I've had to work harder to prove myself, to prove who I am. And so challenges, setbacks have always worked in my benefit. So hearing loss, oh yeah, nobody has time for that. I mean, nobody, especially as a new mom. It came on 2 weeks postpartum.
Right.
So I cannot think of a worse time to experience hearing loss. But is there ever, Dr. Tara, is there ever a good time to lose your hearing? The answer is no. No, that was my wild card. And I could feel sorry for myself, and I did for a hot 2 minutes. But because of the situation I was in as a new mom, I was now responsible for a new life. I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself. I knew that it was not going to be productive. I also knew it wasn't going to be fun and or easy. It was definitely uncomfortable, and it was indeed messy and heartbreaking, and all of those things. All those things. It's taken me 14 plus years to come to the realization, though, that my hearing loss has been the biggest blessing of my life. And I don't say that to try to convince anyone else. It really has. It has become my superpower. I have the ability, sound on, sound off. We always talk about what would be your superpower. I actually have one, and it's so delicious. I get to take these implants off, remove them from my head at night on an airplane, in the airport, whenever I feel overstimulated. I get to do that. Not everyone gets to do that. And it can be such a gift. The silence is a gift. People often meditate to enter and achieve silence and to feel restored, replenished. And I get to access and tap into that gift anytime that I choose. And it is such a hearing win.
I am just blown away by what you just said. I'm trying to process all that, because thinking myself, then we've got kids similar age, and as you say, suddenly having a newborn, there's so much, isn't there, to process and deal with your body and this new life.
It was devastating. Don't get me wrong. I could hear my baby the first 2 weeks, and then I couldn't. And my poor husband was thinking, oh my gosh, are you just trying to sleep in and not hear the baby? And I really couldn't. And it was heartbreaking, because it's an innate motherly reflex to respond to your baby's cry.
Yes.
And I no longer couldn't. And what a sad reality. And then I started thinking, well, what else will I miss? Will I miss the changes in their voice when they're older? Will I miss conversations? Will I miss secrets? What else will I miss out on? And you do think about those things, and you do have to grieve that and process that. But then on the flip side, I knew that was not a healthy place to stay stuck in.
Yes.
It's thinking about, what are the losses? What am I going to miss out on? I need to do something. I'm hardwired to problem solve. And I've always had that mentality. I've always well, how do I figure this out? How do I figure this out? I know I can. Hearing loss happens to 1 in 4 people in the world. So if 1 in 4 can manage it, I can too. I can too. So I had no doubt that I could overcome it. I didn't know how. I just knew that I would. And I did. And not only did I survive it, I'm thriving. I am thriving. My life has never been more blessed than post hearing loss.
What did you do then? So to people listening now, how do you first begin to manage? Just things like, how do you manage when you're not able to hear your baby cry? Is that all right to ask? What were those first, it's the steps really, I guess, as well. What does it look like? I know at the moment you have implants, don't you? What was the journey like in trying to adapt?
Does that look like? That's a great question, because you'd almost have to see it to believe it. That's why I think sometimes this story, my book, Adaptability, would make for a great motion picture too, because it's the soundscapes are dramatically different. You hear a baby screaming. You see a mom not responding. You see a household what, going crazy trying to figure out what is going on, because we didn't know what was going on. I just thought I was really sick. And in that process, there was the first couple of weeks where I swore it was a sinus infection. It would clear itself. So I insisted
Right.
on just holding my baby all the time, and to I would learn to visually hear her. And it's funny just how smart the human body really is, and how it's able to overcompensate in other senses when
Yes.
one is down. And my smell has been heightened, my vision has been heightened, and it was almost a sixth sense that I developed. Whenever something was
Yes.
not right,
Yeah.
I could usually just get up and go check on her, and sure enough, something would be off, or she'd need my attention. I knew that was not sustainable, and that I started to do baby signs as soon as my newborn was able to process what signs were. I knew that part would be helpful,
Yes.
and I immediately enrolled myself into a survival sign language. It was meant for people who experience sudden hearing loss. So I needed the elementary version, the 101, throw me in. I'm not sure what's going on, but I've
Yes.
got to be able to manage this until I find a more permanent solution. And I did that, and it was hard. You're exhausted. You're a new mom. Half the time I was nursing in class and trying to
Yeah.
understand new signs. I looked crazy, I'm sure. Um, but it's what you do. My call to motherhood was so much stronger, and I was going to
Yeah.
figure this out. There was no way I was going to miss out on any aspect of motherhood. I tried so hard to bring my children into this world, and I share that too in my book about the infertility piece. So now that they were here and in my arms, and this happened, so yeah, that sucks. But my call to motherhood is still way stronger,
Yeah.
and it's up to me. And if I can be that gift of example, and show them what their mother got through in one of the most critical times, what a gift to pass on to your children, the gift of resiliency. Because our our kiddos in this day and age, it's everything is so instant gratification. I want this now. It has to come now. Delayed gratification is like a thing of the past. And
Yes. That's a good point.
yeah, and teaching them, showing them what resiliency looks like. They'll always be able to reference back to, whoa, look what my mom did, though. I know they always worry if they're going to lose their hearing. So what? I mean, look at life, my life. Your life will carry on, and you'll find a new way. And so if I can be that person to anybody else, in addition to my children, that was the motivation. You will carry on. You will be just fine, if not better than before. I'm here to tell you this.
I love that. So many great points then. So it sounds like this isn't just about your journey, but obviously your family's journey. There's other significant people in your life.
Yes. Hearing loss impacts the entire family, one way or the other, because they are not affected by hearing loss. So all of a sudden, they have this
Yeah.
new member in their family who has a new condition. And it is similar to somebody who was severely damaged in a vehicle accident, and suddenly they're in a wheelchair overnight, and you have to adjust the house, and you have to adjust accessibility. It was the same way. We had to find new communication boundaries that were sustainable to keep the family going. Like, We have a 3-level home, and back in the day, you'd be able to tell me something from upstairs and I'd hear just fine. And now we have to be on the same level of the house, and everyone now knows. And sometimes they still need reminding that, I need to be in front of the person to
Yes.
fully understand. And we all need those reminders. It's easy to forget because I look fine, right? And I think that's the big thing too. Is, well, you forget it's a hidden disability again, and I go into that piece too. Is a lot of times people can't see it, they can't believe it, and it requires so much education and re-education, even on my own family members. Hey, guys, nothing has changed. I'm still, it's going to be like this forever. So, I won't reply even if I can a little bit hear them from upstairs. I won't, because I'm hard of hearing is just that. It is hard to hear. And I am hearing as hard as I possibly can every single day, every single word until these come off at night. It's hard. It's hard. So I really want to emphasize that and speak to my hard of hearing community, and kudos for what they do, because it is hard every day. There is no break. There is no break until you get rest, or you take your aids or your implants off. So we're doing our very best to keep up in the hearing world. So just a little accommodation goes a long way.
I'm just thinking as well, the emotional, physical effort that it takes day in, day out. How does it affect your mental health, your outlook on life?
It absolutely, thank you, Dr. Taylor, because that piece goes unmentioned, and undervalued, maybe, and unconsidered.
Yeah.
And there is auditory fatigue. I remember learning I was going deaf, and my audiologist said, "Whoa, Tiffany, your auditory fatigue must be off the charts. You have got to be so exhausted." And I'm like, auditory fatigue? Wait, what? That is a thing? What? I didn't. Yes. That explains so much of the migraines, the just irritability, the constant pressure and exhaustion to always keep auditory fatigue. I had no idea that was such a thing, and I had been struggling that with over a decade and didn't realize that's what it was even called. It was so. I found comfort in hearing. Yes, thank you for giving me an explanation that hopefully now I can give back and make sense and help people make sense of what I'm experiencing. It takes a toll, and emotionally, you do reach limits, and you do have thresholds, and you have to have a little self-awareness and self-respect to say, okay, I have reached mine for today, and I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to sound off and tap out. I've done the best I can for right now, and maybe I'll be back in an hour, but in order to give you my best self, I have to have self-awareness to know what are my limits.
Absolutely.
And to really understand the emotionality and it can be expensive if we just, like, I work as an actress, and being on set all day is a perfect example of that. 14 hours on set, listening to directions, doing retakes, having to listen for cut, action, cut, stop. And I come off a set and I want to hibernate for at least 2 weeks to restore my sanity, so to speak. My sanity, it wipes you out. And then I am so jealous when people can bounce right back and jump back in. But I said, but I have directors, I'm different.
Yeah.
And I'm a unique person, and I have to honor my needs and those. So advocating for myself too, and there have been times I've told the director on set, I need to recharge my hearing aid batteries, and luckily they do have batteries where you can't just zap me and I'm supercharged.
Yeah.
And it gives me even 10 minutes of silence where I get,
It's like a little boundary in a way. Yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned that kind of self-care, self-kindness element, because I'm just wondering how often do people notice those things but not feel that they're able to say, put boundaries in place, say, you know, I'm checking out for a bit, or I need space, whatever that looks like.
a lot.
Did that come organically, or have you had to kind of work on being able to meet your own needs in that way?
You're right, Dr. Terry. It was a slow build at first.
Yeah.
You don't want to draw attention to it because
Right.
I felt happy enough just to be cast in a position. So I felt
Right.
initially my hearing loss would be too complicated,
Yeah.
or directors and cast would be like, oh, she's going to slow down production if she can't keep up to speed. And I thought, that's so unfair. My talent and my gift that I'm bringing to your production far outweighs the 10 minutes of silence, or however long it
Absolutely.
takes, the little lunch hour break that I so desperately need to not be bothered, to give myself space, to give everyone space. And then it works to everyone's benefit. But it was a slow build. And now I'm fully comfortable. And I'll even say, when I'm signing a contract, I'll make sure and write in that I'll need auditory breaks, and kind of like the old fashioned smoking break for 15 minutes. I'm going on a smoke. I'm taking a peace break, a silence break for 15 minutes, because I have to take care of my well-being. It's so critical, and
It's as
I
simple
want
as that,
to
isn't it? It's looking after
encourage
well-being.
others. So,
Yeah.
yes, and it is. But I tell you, it was not that way at first. It was through experience and confidence, and knowing that I have the right to self-advocate. These are my rights. It's not, and I will be heard. Like it is a right to self-advocate. This is a birthright, and especially someone with a disability, they have every right.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, is it okay to also just widen out a little bit? Because I'm just thinking what you may have done for the industry as a whole. I'm not sure wherever the USA at in terms of rights and inclusion and people with additional needs in the acting field, for example. You know, what may you have contributed, either knowingly or unknowingly, in that area by modeling and letting people know what you need?
Yes, I feel it's my responsibility to, since I do have a very blessed opportunity to be in the public eye through acting and writing and putting myself out there in the media, that it's my responsibility to really push for greater hearing health awareness and greater advocacy for the hard of hearing, whether that be closed captioning. I always require, in our household, every monitor is set up for closed captioning. In Zoom meetings, I often ask the host beforehand to enable closed captioning if it's a group setting, because then I'll have to be channeling 8 different voices. And it is in everywhere I go. And it's not in a negative Nancy kind of way. If I'm able to spot a situation that I know can easily be improved with accessibility.
Yes.
Whether that be, like just captioning on a monitor at an airport, at a bar. It is my duty and my right to demand that it's there. And I have found so much purpose in advocating for our right. It's our birthright, actually. It's our birthright to connect.
Absolutely is.
We
And
are
it's that being all right with it as well, because I wonder whether some people feel, oh, I shouldn't do, or is it okay to put myself
it is
first?
our birthright to connect. And I feel that when I started to lose my hearing, people, directly or indirectly, it's hard to tell, but people would slowly distance themselves because it got exponentially harder until I got my implants. And I thought, that's not okay. I don't deserve to be isolated because through no fault of my own, I'm losing my hearing. And it is my birthright to stay connected to you all. And who are we as humanity to isolate someone else because we can't understand their reality? And I talk about inclusion all the time, what that looks like, and how we love the idea of inclusion, to include everyone, make it everything accessible. We love the idea. Putting it into practice is a whole different thing. We love to post about, yes, inclusivity. It's not a trend, guys. It is here to stay. It is
really good
mainstream.
Point.
I will die advocating for inclusivity. It is standardized in my eyes. It is standardized, and there's no way it's going out of style. I will make sure to that. Inclusivity, connection is a birthright, and no one's going to take it away from me because I'm impaired, and nor do I get to take that away from anyone else. We need to be able to really look at ourselves as this. My book, Adaptability, is such a wake-up call to humanity about what I saw firsthand.
Yes.
Going from having perfect hearing for 30 years of my life to being legally deaf, and what I saw in between, and the discrepancies and the misperceptions the hearing community has about the deaf and hard of hearing. And I feel how wonderful, though, that I get to be a bridge now and foster understanding, foster communication, foster information in a healthy way that's not ranting and mean or aggressive. It is very proactive, very loving, very educational, and very inclusive. That's my legacy. It doesn't, now that I've been on both sides, I belong to two communities, the hearing community and the deaf community, equal, and I love them equally. There is no way I could pick one as my favorite. There is no way. And I just think, so why does it happen to me? How lucky I am that it did happen to me, because I have found my purpose, and perhaps God has had me this position in mind for me from the day I was born, to bring me to who I am and move the mountains I did, so that I could be an advocate and a light for people who are struggling.
One of the things that you talk about in your book, and we've touched on it a bit already, is the aspect of hidden disability and what you've been met with. And I think that's really important for people to hear about, how many presumptions we make, to say.
They're everywhere. And if we're not careful, that can cause a lot of destruction. And I've experienced firsthand a lot of criticism, a lot of disbelief.
Really?
Especially in the initial stages of my loss, from friends, a few family members even. I never name names. I never do that. That's not what it's about. It's about misunderstandings.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people said, perhaps you're being dramatic, Tiffany. Perhaps you're overly tired with this
Gosh.
new motherhood. It's easy to be stressed and overwhelmed when you're a new mom. And I'm thinking, why would someone make this up? Like, that's so ridiculous. Why would you do that? Why would anyone do that? And so that started a fire in my heart, that how many other people are being discredited, are being reducted. It's a very reductive feeling to say. There was literally someone I mountain bike a lot in my city, and my implants don't always fit well under a helmet, so sometimes I will ride without my implants, and that's actually really nice. But I always put a deaf cyclist patch on my back, and there was one experience in particular where someone was behind me and I was unaware of them. They were trying to pass me and they were yelling at me, "Hey, get over." I'm here. So this person decides to come up on me and push me a little bit on my bike. And I'm so sorry. I said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you. I'm deaf." Said, "You're not deaf. You're crazy."
Good grief.
I'm like, I said, "Wait, stop. Can you stop? I want to just, I am deaf. Did you see the sticker on my back? I don't care. I don't care. You're crazy." I am not crazy. So I've learned the hard way that some people just are never going to be right in the universe.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's up to me to be a bridge, to be a light. But you can lead the horse to the water. It's up to them to drink it. And I can keep offering understanding and information and education, but it's going to require a wake-up call for humanity at large to recognize hidden disabilities. And I'm not even talking about hearing loss. I list over 30 hidden disabilities in my book, just from people and family members and friends that I know struggle. And because we can't see it with our eyes, we don't believe it. And that's ridiculous. What a ridiculous mentality, that just because we can't see it with our naked eye, that doesn't exist. That's so reductive and unfair and unkind. And we can do better.
We absolutely
can do better.
So in terms of your book then, what are you hoping this is going to do? It's about a core shift, isn't it? This isn't what we call sticking plaster. It's not just educating people. It's one thing I'm going to take from today is that difference between there's education, sharing knowledge, but then how do we start to create a shift? And we can all listen today, and wherever people are listening to this, on a train, whenever, whatever date, there's something we can all do. What could that begin to look like?
First, we can start with reading my book, because, and I will tell you what, Adaptability, I wrote the title of that.
I like it.
Be all inclusive, all inclusive. Everyone has a story to share. Everyone does. And everyone deserves to be heard. And my story was my hearing loss journey, but everyone's got their own. Adaptability is a tool, and it's a verb that everyone can tap into if they know how. So that is my gift in Adaptability. You see on the cover, you see this woman with luscious hair and posing like a L'Oreal cosmetic ad. But what you don't see, and oftentimes what people have told me they have failed to not see, is the implant and the pacemaker that are on full display. And I did that on purpose. I wanted to catch people's eye, only to remind them that back in the day, in the 19th century, this book cover would have been prohibited entirely from the ugly laws. Displaying a hearing aid, displaying any kind of disfigurement, any kind of physical disability, we would have deemed it inappropriate and ugly. And I'm so glad I don't live in the 19th century. And yet we still have such a long ways to go. For a long time, I felt like I did have to cover up my implant and my pacemaker, that it would make people feel uncomfortable. And no, it's not my job to make society feel more comfortable. I'm going to, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, don't look. It's who I am. And I'm wearing nothing else. There's no jewelry. There's no watch. There's no pretty pendant necklace. The way I feel most beautiful is knowing that I have an implant that allows me to hear, and I have a pacemaker that I no longer have to worry about my heart pausing. And I'm going to show them off because they're beautiful accessories to me. They keep me alive. They keep me doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So the cover, I hope people really, really, really take a hard look at that, and just what's behind that graceful pose, and how it took so much to get there. And that's what I want to give to other people. You are capable of overcoming anything, no matter how big or small, whatever I like to call my wild cards, and they're setbacks, right? Whatever your setback is, I've just retermed them wild cards. We're all going to get them. No one is immune to life's wild cards. Nobody.
I like that. It's a nice concept.
So the minute we find a wild card, it is my strategy to make friends with it. I might not like it. In fact, I don't even have to love. Maybe I'll never love it, but I've got to make friends with it, because that immediately disarms it and takes away the power that it held over me. So I have hearing loss, but it doesn't have me. And if we can use that and learn how to befriend our wild cards, they work to our advantage. And there's always a hidden blessing. There's always, in every setback and every obstacle, there is a hidden blessing and a lesson to be learned. You think back, you look back on any life situation and what was hard. You can, on
the pandemic, lockdowns and restrictions, there will be takeaways from that, little tiny adversity takeaways.
Absolutely. And adaptability is a verb. It requires us to move. We can't stay stuck. We have to move forward. It is too easy to get in our own way. So that's why I think it's sometimes better to not know what's coming. I'm glad I didn't know all this would happen to me. I would have froze. I would have gotten my own way. It's a blessing to sometimes not know what's going to happen, and to be open to that, and to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because there were always
comfy with the uncomfy. I do that at work a lot with my own patients. Sometimes we need to kind of lean into those tricky feelings and make room for them, rather than trying to put a lot of effort into getting away, ignoring them, whatever that looks like.
In comfort zones, if we can reframe them, comfort zones are dead zones. There's no growth. There's no personal growth in a comfort zone, and we avoid discomfort.
We do,
like COVID, right? And we don't want it, but that's where the magic is. That's what the magic is, and I'm living proof of that. That's where the magic is, in the discomfort. So leaning into it, leaning into the setback, leaning into your own wild cards. Woo, just watch what happens.
So what I'm also thinking in terms of kind of practical steps, what I really love is that when people are listening to my podcast episode, I want them to be able to go, what can I do? This person listen to this podcast in bed, on the train, whatever. And I'm just thinking, when we were just talking about how people around you also navigated this with you, presumably the people that are around you or general public, whatever, we can all learn to lean in, that we don't avoid people with disabilities, that we don't avoid talking about it, asking, are there steps people can do to lean into their own feelings or being uncomfortable? Do you like it when people ask you, engage with you about your hearing loss, for example? What practical steps may be useful for people to do?
I think there's so many practical, we have to be able to, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth on purpose. To really listen to each other and meet each other where we're at. So if someone says they're hard of hearing, that's your cue. That's the receptor's cue to say, okay, so perhaps, I can angle myself in a position where they can better see the movements of my mouth. It's free, and it costs us nothing. And I'm just speaking on my behalf. Those are little simple things that people can do for the hard of hearing. But at large, if someone were to tell me, like, I have one of my best friends struggles with Lyme's disease, and she looks like a Barbie, right? And you would never know she was sick. 9 out of 10 days she feels awful because she looks great. And then again, it goes back to those hidden disabilities and honoring each other. And I always tell her, honey, I know you look so good. What are you struggling with today? And how can I meet you there? Like, how can I be there for, what do you need from me? Like, what does that look? And asking to, and lean into each other and help each other. Whatever that looks like. And sometimes we have to ask, like, tell me specifically what you need from me. And so I can give that to you and giving back. And there's tools, and if we just really tap into the humanity aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's right there. We are hardwired to connect. We belong to each other. And who are we not to be helping each other out? Everyone's got something. Everyone does.
There's a lovely compassion element there. So your book is out. We can get it on Amazon, can't we? So people
on Amazon
all over the world can access Amazon, thankfully. Where can people find out more about you? Where do you hang out?
I am a Colorado girl. So if I'm not with my kids, I'm on a mountain bike trail, or I'm on the lake paddleboarding, or I'm rock climbing. I'm doing it all.
Wow.
I was really worried when I did initially start losing my hearing. Oh gosh, how is this going to fit into my lifestyle?
Yeah.
And you know what? I said, whatever hearing solution I do decide on, it's got to be able to keep up with me, because I'm not slowing down. So, I'm living proof of that. I'm on my mountain bike 365 days a year. I've got a snow bike. There's nothing that I live life to its fullest, so people can find me outside or on a movie set or teaching ASL. I also loved giving back a language that was such a survival tool to me. I love giving it back. And no, I'm not a native signer, but you don't have to be. I think there's also a misperception about never learn sign from somebody who isn't deaf, but I've learned, I sign pretty well, and I teach a college prep course,
Right.
sign language. So yeah, if I have to say so myself, your signing in my class is going to be very similar to outside sign. And that's where people can find me. And socially, if you can't find me Colorado on the trail on a movie set, and find me online. I'm at TiffanyStorrs.com. Stores, people want to call it a store like a traditional grocery store. It's STORRS, TiffanyStorrs.com. And my book, Adaptability, is on Amazon. You just search for the words Adaptability, Tiffany Storrs, it comes right up. And I'm also on Instagram at Tiffany Stasny Storrs. So that's Tiffany with a Y, and then Stasny, STASNY, Storrs, STORRS. And Dr. Tara, I'd love the first two people to follow me and DM me, tell me what they took away from this episode.
Yes, we like this.
A copy of Adaptability delivered right to their door.
So they've got to find you. I'll make sure all of this is in my show notes as well, all the links to the book, to your social media. So I love that. So the first two people to follow you, send you a DM about how they liked, what their takeaway is, or get a copy of your book, which is fantastic. I've really enjoyed having you on. Would you be able to leave us, so my little signature move, is there one, you've given me so much, I've personally taken so much away from today, let alone our listeners. If there was one little adversity takeaway, what could you leave us with?
That's loaded with just one. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I like that. That fits really well with me and my values as a practitioner. So I like that. Tiffany, it's been amazing. And is it all right to say you've got up super early for this as well? So I really appreciate it. And, you know, we've been talking for 50 minutes. So you're probably at saturation point as well, because I haven't set up my captions for you. You've had to use your own tech to do that. So thank you for that. And I cannot wait to get this episode out there. Thank you so much.
Dr. Tara, thank you for having me on. Thank you for the work that you do and the enlightenment you bring in your work.
Thank you.
And you are a powerhouse yourself. So keep shining your light as well, please. This world needs more Dr. Taras.
Thank you. That's really lovely. It's Friday today, end of the week. That's made my week. Thank you so much.